The morning on Oak Island was colder than usual, with fog hanging low over the shoreline and waves gently breaking against the rocks. Rick Lagina moved quietly across the site, his boots sinking slightly into the damp sand. For decades, he had chased the mystery that had captured the world's attention, yet today felt different. The air was heavy, almost charged with a sense of anticipation. Machines that had roared for years now stood silent, their engines cooling in the damp air. The crew gathered in small clusters, speaking in low tones, casting glances at the areas that had been most active in the past weeks. There was a tension that hadn't been present before, a feeling that something monumental had been uncovered, something that was about to change everything. Rick didn't rush. He walked with deliberate steps, observing the equipment, the drilled holes, and the grids they had meticulously mapped. Every movement reflected decades of experience, every pause measured. The excavation had reached a point that no one had expected. For years, Oak Island had been a place of endless questions, and yet here, in the midst of mud, water, and sand, something tangible had been found. The drilling had uncovered a metallic container, partially hidden beneath layers of sediment and water that had accumulated over centuries. It wasn't gold, and it wasn't jewelry. It was something far more mysterious, its shape deliberate, almost ancient. When the container first appeared in the camera footage, the crew froze. Machines hummed in the background, but no one moved. The container seemed to carry weight beyond its physical presence, as if it held a story that had been waiting to surface for centuries. Rick was the first to approach it. His hand rested on the cold metal, and for a moment there was silence so deep it seemed to swallow the sound of the ocean. "If this is what we think it is," he said softly, "history changes today." That sentence alone held the gravity of everything that had led to this moment. As the crew watched, the water was slowly drained from around the container. Mud was brushed away carefully, revealing markings that no one could identify at first. Symbols etched with precision, unfamiliar and deliberate, seemed to tell a story lost to time. A crane was brought in to lift the container, chains securing it tightly. Everyone held their breath as it rose, water dripping away, mud falling in clumps to the floor. The glow of the metal was faint but unmistakable, and it captivated everyone present. Rick and Marty stood side by side, both understanding that this discovery wasn't just valuable, it was potentially transformative. No one dared speak, knowing that even the smallest comment could break the fragile focus of the moment. The cameras rolled, capturing every angle, every gesture, every reaction, though the crew knew that what they were filming might one day be seen as a turning point in the history of Oak Island. After the container had been safely secured, Rick gathered the crew in a circle. His face was calm, but the weight of what had been uncovered was evident in his eyes. There were no celebrations, no cheering, no laughter. This was not a moment for victory. It was a moment of recognition, a quiet acknowledgement of the power of what had been found. Rumors had already begun circulating. Some whispered that Rick had discovered gold, though no one could confirm it. Others suggested the container held artifacts, objects tied to ancient history, possibly of a kind that the world had never seen. The excitement in the air was tempered by a sense of responsibility, an understanding that the consequences of revealing this discovery could reach far beyond the small island. That night, everything changed. The island fell silent as darkness spread across the excavation site. Machines powered down, lights dimmed, and a heavy calm settled over the area. Rick had finalized a private agreement regarding the container. According to insiders, a small group arrived quietly, and papers were signed under strict confidentiality. A sealed container was carefully loaded onto a truck and driven away under cover of darkness, leaving the crew and cameras behind. No one was allowed to record. No one was allowed to watch. Witness the transfer in detail. By morning, security had been doubled across the island. Marty told the team that the excavation was paused indefinitely, offering no explanation beyond the fact that certain procedures had to be followed. The mystery of Oak Island, which had been centuries in the making, had entered a phase of secrecy the crew had never anticipated. Despite the quiet, word of the deal spread rapidly. The internet exploded with speculation. Some claimed the agreement was worth tens of millions of dollars, while others suggested it had reached figures as high as 70 million. A few named the buyer as a secretive billionaire collector with a history of acquiring rare and ancient artifacts. One consistent detail stood out. Rick had been present for the transaction, but Marty had not. This only deepened the intrigue. People questioned why someone who had dedicated their life to uncovering Oak Island's secrets would suddenly choose to hide such a discovery. What was inside the container that warranted this level of caution? Why was secrecy prioritized over celebration? Fans of Oak Island quickly began analyzing every past interview, every statement Rick had ever made. One line stood out repeatedly. "What we found goes beyond gold." That sentence, once cryptic, now seemed chillingly clear. Perhaps the discovery was never meant to be measured in monetary terms. Perhaps it was something more significant, something that history itself had been waiting for. Reddit threads, social media groups, and video forums lit up with theories, ranging from historical artifacts tied to ancient civilizations to objects of immense scientific or spiritual importance. Some suggested Templar connections, linking the find to centuries-old secrets and possibly forbidden knowledge. Others speculated on lost manuscripts, mysterious symbols, or even technological artifacts that modern science had yet to understand. The theories were endless, but the truth remained locked away, hidden from public view. The following days were tense. The excavation site was no longer just a place of adventure. It had become a zone of controlled access. Armed guards appeared. Black SUVs moved in and out of previously unrestricted areas, and the crew was forbidden from approaching the exact spot where the container had been found. Advanced equipment appeared on the site, including radiation detectors, scanning devices, and containment crates. Rick held private discussions with the experts and officials brought in, keeping the film crew far from these conversations. It was clear that what had been found was no ordinary treasure. Government officials and academic historians seemed involved at a level the crew could not fully comprehend. Scholars who examined photographs and sketches of the container were baffled. The metal itself did not match anything previously known. It wasn't gold or copper, it was something different, something that puzzled modern science. The symbols on the container resembled medieval European markings, some linked to the Knights Templar. A cross, enclosed in a triangle, surrounded by a circular seal, appeared again and again in historical relics connected to secret orders. If the connection was real, it could mean the container was part of a vault hidden beneath Oak Island centuries ago, a chamber holding knowledge and artifacts deliberately concealed from the world. Rick's decision to remain silent about the discovery fueled speculation. He never called it treasure, and he never called it an artifact. He only stated, "It's something history isn't ready for." Those words alone sent the internet into a frenzy. Discussions ranged from dangerous ancient technologies to divine manuscripts to secrets powerful enough to affect governments or institutions. For some, Rick's silence was proof that the discovery was too dangerous for public knowledge. Others argued that the secrecy suggested personal gain or control. Whatever the reasoning, Oak Island had transformed from a historic excavation into a modern enigma with global attention. After the container was taken from Oak Island, driven them for decades were replaced by unease and uncertainty. Many of the team members had dedicated their lives to uncovering the secrets of Oak Island, and now, for the first time, they felt excluded from what seemed to be the most important discovery of all. Emma Culligan, who had always been among the most observant and careful members, remained silent for hours after the removal. She simply stared at the empty ground where the container had rested, the mud and water now calm and still. Charles Barkhouse, however, could not contain his frustration. "We've spent years digging, risking everything, and now it's gone?" he said sharply. His voice carried over the quiet island, but there was no one left to respond. Even Marty Lagina, usually composed and patient, seemed disturbed. He avoided looking directly at Rick, as though understanding that this moment marked a shift none of them were prepared for. Word of the private agreement leaked quickly, despite the secrecy surrounding the transaction. Social media erupted and theories spread like wildfire. Some claimed that Rick had been forced to sell the container to protect himself and the crew. Others insisted it was a calculated move, a way to ensure that the discovery never fell into the wrong hands. The speculation was relentless. Online forums dissected every word, every gesture Rick had made over the years. One detail that captured attention was the significant payouts to the crew. Millions of dollars reportedly changed hands quietly, a reward for years of dedication. Some fans called it generous compensation, others labeled it blood money. Emma whispered off camera that despite the financial reward, something more valuable had been lost. "We found wealth," she said quietly, "but did we find the answer?" The days following the removal of the container were tense. The excavation site was heavily restricted. Security had been increased dramatically, with armed guards and black SUVs moving in and out without explanation. The crew was forbidden from approaching the original excavation spot, and new equipment appeared almost overnight. Advanced scanning devices, radiation detectors, and sealed containment units arrived quietly, their purpose unclear to those who had been digging for decades. Government agents and academic historians oversaw the operations, leaving the crew to follow orders without understanding the true significance of the work. It became evident that Oak Island was no longer under their control. What had been a hunt for treasure had shifted into something far more complex and secretive, with stakes that extended well beyond the island itself. Speculation about the container's contents grew daily. Scholars analyzed photographs, drawings, and the few close-up shots of the metal and the symbols etched into it. The metal itself puzzled scientists. It wasn't gold or copper, nor any other known alloy. It appeared advanced, almost modern, yet clearly ancient in origin. The symbols suggested a connection to the Knights Templar, a secretive organization whose artifacts had been hidden across Europe for centuries. The container seemed to be a key, a trigger, or perhaps a part of a larger mechanism. If true, it could be linked to a hidden vault beneath Oak Island, something deliberately concealed and protected for hundreds of years. The implications were staggering. It wasn't just a treasure chest. They had potentially uncovered a link to a lost civilization or a secret that powerful people had wanted hidden. Rick's silence fueled even more speculation. For someone who had spent decades openly chasing the Oak Island mystery, his decision to withhold information shocked the team and the public alike. He never described the container as treasure or as an artifact. His only words were, "It's something history isn't ready for." Those words ignited an endless series of questions. Why was it dangerous? Why hide it from the world? What could be so important that even the team who had devoted their lives to Oak Island could not be allowed to see it? These questions spread quickly online. Forums, YouTube channels, and social media threads exploded with theories about Templar relics, lost manuscripts, and ancient technologies. Some suggested the object might even contain knowledge that could reshape history or challenge governments and religious institutions. Tension within the team grew. Emma and Charles clashed openly over the decision. Emma felt Rick had made the right call, believing the world was not ready for the truth. Charles disagreed, arguing that the team had a duty to reveal what they had found. Marty tried to mediate, but even he could not restore the sense of unity that had once defined the group. Scott Barlow, a longtime crew member, later admitted that the team felt a wall had grown between them, one built by secrecy and decisions beyond their control. Rick's minimal explanations did little to ease the unease. He acknowledged that everyone had received their share of the payout, but when asked about the contents of the container, he remained silent. Weeks later, rumors intensified. Leaks suggested that the container had been sold to a billionaire collector, someone highly secretive with connections to European royalty or powerful financial interests. The container had reportedly been flown off the island under cover of darkness, possibly to Switzerland or Dubai, though no one could confirm the exact location. According to the leaks, this transaction was carefully orchestrated to prevent public knowledge, and Rick was said to have played a central role. The implications were enormous. If the container held artifacts with historical, technological, or religious significance, its removal meant the secrets of Oak Island were now in private hands, far from academic or public scrutiny. As the internet analyzed every detail, theories grew more complex. Some suggested the container was part of an ancient vault with mechanisms that required a specific key to access. The symbols were believed to be functional, not decorative, possibly forming part of a locking system designed centuries ago. One unverified document suggested that the chest might be a key to a hidden chamber buried nearly 200 feet below the island, containing knowledge or objects deliberately concealed for centuries. The idea that Oak Island held not just treasure, but a secret of immense power spread rapidly across forums and video platforms. Every new post, every theory fueled more speculation. The narrative shifted. Oak Island was no longer simply a treasure hunt. It had become a story about secrets too dangerous to reveal. As the news spread, Oak Island became a global conversation. Every detail, every rumor was dissected. Social media users, amateur historians, and treasure hunters debated endlessly. Some insisted the container held something far older than anyone imagined. Others claimed it contained items of immense religious significance, perhaps even linked to the Knights Templar or lost manuscripts that could change history. Theories involving ancient technology, hidden maps, or even a power source began appearing on forums. Each day brought a new claim, a new video, or a new article suggesting that Oak Island's mystery was far from over. Meanwhile, the media descended on the island. Cameras were set up around the excavation site, but the team refused to comment. Reporters tried repeatedly to contact Rick, hoping to gain insight into what had been discovered. Yet he remained elusive. When asked about the container or its contents, Rick gave the same cryptic response: "Some treasures choose their own owners." That brief statement sent shockwaves online. People speculated endlessly. Was he implying the container had been sold? That it had been taken to a private collector? Or was he hinting that the contents were dangerous and the world was not ready to see them? His silence only made the mystery deeper. The crew members struggled with their emotions. Some felt relief that years of hard work had been rewarded financially. Others, like Charles and Scott, felt a profound sense of loss. The discovery was no longer just about treasure. It was about history, knowledge, and trust. Emma tried to make sense of it. "We've spent decades digging for answers," she said quietly. "But now it feels like the answers were never meant for us or anyone else." The tension between the crew grew. Even Marty, usually calm and steady, admitted privately that the decision had created a divide among them. Once a family united by curiosity and determination, the team now felt fractured. As the weeks passed, more clues and rumors emerged. Leaks suggested the container had been flown to a private vault somewhere in Europe or the Middle East. Some claimed the buyer was connected to elite networks, including royalty or powerful business magnates with an interest in rare artifacts. Others speculated that government agencies were involved, keeping the discovery hidden due to its potential global impact. Online, theories became increasingly elaborate. Reddit threads analyzed every symbol and marking from the container. YouTube videos dissected every moment of Rick's previous interviews, looking for hidden clues. Was the chest a key, a trigger, a map to something even deeper beneath Oak Island? Then, months later, Rick finally made a public appearance. He looked tired, aged beyond his years, and carried an air of quiet gravity. When asked directly about the container, he said slowly and deliberately, "What we found was not meant for the world." The room fell silent. No further details were given, but his statement alone ignited a firestorm. Fans and theorists scrambled to interpret his words. Some believed he was speaking about a dangerous artifact or secret that could harm humanity. Others thought it was a lost technology, something that could rewrite history or challenge governments and institutions. The ambiguity kept the mystery alive, ensuring Oak Island remained at the center of global speculation. After Rick's statement, online discussions intensified. Theories ranged from ancient military technology hidden by the Templars to sacred religious artifacts that could challenge long-held beliefs. Some even proposed that the container might contain evidence of a lost civilization or knowledge deliberately hidden for centuries. Each new claim fueled further curiosity and concern. Documented reports suggested that the excavation site had been secured even more tightly, with armed guards, restricted zones, and surveillance equipment ensuring no one could approach the area. It became clear that the treasure hunt, as the public knew it, was over. Oak Island had transformed into a tightly controlled secret, its mystery carefully preserved. Despite the secrecy, some insiders revealed small details. Payments to the crew had been substantial, confirming that Rick had ensured they were rewarded. However, no one received details about the contents of the container or the transaction itself. Speculation mounted. Was the payout simply a reward for years of work, or was it a way to ensure silence? Some crew members, including Emma and Charles, wrestled with this moral dilemma. "We've risked everything for this," Charles said, "but now it feels like the truth belongs to someone else entirely." The tension between gratitude and unease continued to shape the crew's perspective. Meanwhile, the global fascination with Oak Island only grew. Documentaries, online articles, and social media posts analyzed every possible clue. People debated endlessly whether Rick had acted out of responsibility, fear, or ambition. Theories about the container's contents became more complex. Some suggested it held a vault key designed to unlock a hidden chamber deep beneath the island. Others speculated it contained manuscripts, ancient maps, or even artifacts tied to the Templars' most secret operations. Each theory seemed plausible, given the evidence and Rick's careful choice of words. The island had ceased to be merely a treasure hunt. It had become a story about power, secrecy, and the weight of history. As the internet frenzy continued, a new perspective emerged. Experts argued that the true significance of Oak Island might never be revealed. The combination of government involvement, private collectors, and centuries-old secrecy meant that the discovery was likely beyond public understanding. Theories that once seemed far-fetched now appeared credible. Could the container have held a warning, a mechanism of protection, or something so dangerous that even decades of research could not fully grasp it? Each day, the mystery deepened, leaving Oak Island as much a symbol of secrecy and caution as it was a legend of treasure. As months passed, the mystery of Oak Island shifted from a treasure hunt to an international enigma. Experts, historians, and fans alike began revisiting the Templar theories. Many pointed to the strange symbols on the container, which resembled medieval European iconography. A cross enclosed within a triangle, surrounded by a circular seal, had appeared on known Templar relics across Europe. Could it be that Rick and his team had uncovered a piece of history that had been deliberately hidden for centuries? Some believed the container was a key to a much larger secret, possibly a vault buried deep beneath Oak Island, designed to protect knowledge or artifacts of immense importance. Speculation intensified when leaked documents surfaced online. These documents, though unverified, suggested that the metallic container was not treasure at all. Instead, it was a functional key, a mechanism capable of unlocking a hidden chamber nearly 200 feet below the surface. The markings were not decorative, they were functional. Each symbol, line, and groove appeared to have been intentionally crafted to align with an ancient locking system. The internet exploded with theories. What was hidden below the island? A Templar vault? A collection of ancient manuscripts? A dangerous artifact too powerful for the modern world? The global reaction was intense. Satellite imagery enthusiasts began analyzing Oak Island from above, hoping to find clues. Amateur archaeologists examined old maps and drill logs, looking for hints about a hidden chamber. Historians